video is on the art and architecture of Chinese. First, we will see the art of painting of Chinese. The Chinese developed a wonderful paintings. They painted on the silk clothes, they painted on the wall, tombs of the walls, they also painted on the pots, they also painted on the papers. So these are the four materials they used for painting. One, the silk clothes, papers, pots, as well as tomb walls. So the question that comes, why did they paint it on tombs, walls of the tombs? Generally, Chinese believed that the tomb painting were to protect the dead and help their souls to go to heaven. So the paintings in the tomb will help the souls to go to heaven or protect the dead. Sculptures, the next one what we can see, this is a tomb, and the paintings in the tombs we can see on the, this is silk, that is they have used. And the sculptures, next one if you see, Chinese developed the art of casting bronze statues. They made bronze statues. So important bronze statues were made by the Chinese are animals, the bronze statues on animals. They made bronze statues of animals and as well as monsters. This art developed during Xiangs and Chows. These bronze statues were made on Xian's and Chou's dynasty. And Buddhism also influenced making sculptures. So Buddhism influenced sculptures and also made the statues of Buddha or the terracotta figures also. You can see them. So this is a terracotta, this is a Buddhist statue of Bodhisattva, were carved in the stone and found in the large number in China. The Chinese also used terracotta sculptures. This is a terracotta sculpture on your screen you can see. This terracotta army assembled in the tomb of first Qin Emperor. First Qin Emperor. It is a life-size images of more than 8,000 warriors and horses of terracotta. So this is a terracotta army. This is the best examples of the Chinese sculptures of art and architecture. You can see this includes the use of life-size warriors of horses. So where do we find in the tomb of first Qin Emperor? This is the terracotta army. So terracotta figures, it is exactly like the size of a human being or human soldier. One does not look alike like the other. So as human beings different from each other, they look differently each other, but it is the size of a human being. So this is an attractive in Chinese architecture. The another great contribution is Chinese wall, the wall of China. The Chinese were massive builders. The Great Wall of China is the most impressive and everlasting architecture accomplishment of Chinese. So Chinese are proud of their wall, the Great Wall of China. This Chinese wall was built only for the utilitarian purpose, the utility purpose only, not for personal gain. Why they built is in order to protect their country from the attacks or the invasions of Mongolians, Huns and others. This massive structure stands for 2,380 kilometers long, 2,380 kilometers long, about 22 feet high and 20 feet broad. After every 300 feet, you can see watch towers This watchtower has a height of 400 feet. It is one of the ancient wonders of the world, or it is the wonder of the world, I would say it. It is the ancient wonders of the world. It was not popular among the Chinese because forced labors were used to construct, and many of the Chinese innocent people or those who were against Emperor Shi Huangdi were thrown and buried alive into this massive structure. So, as the time went on, the Great Wall of China was ruined in some parts. It was rebuilt and reconstructed by later dynasties or the present government also. So the Wall of China stands even today. The other architectural sites are the Chinese built great palaces. They also built temples, but none of them have survived. Very few of them have survived, are existing, because they used mud and wood in construction. So the things which are used, mud and wood, have perished as the time passed. They built Buddhist temples called pagodas. They built Buddhist temples. This is the pagoda, not pagoda, it is pagodas. So some of the important pagodas are Goose Pagoda, Jed Pagoda, Flask Pagoda are some of the important pagodas. This is a 2 marks question about Chinese construction of pagodas. What is pagodas? And mention some of the important pagodas of Chinese. So from here, if you move on to the philosophy of China or religion of China, so Chinese philosophy or philosophers were 3 important philosophers were there. Laozi, Confucius and Mencius. Laozi, Confucius, Mencius were the 3 important philosophers who have influenced the religious ideas of China to a greater extent. To a big extent, they have influenced. They converted the people of Chinese, a barbaric people of Chinese, to a civilized people, more civilized people. This philosophy have played a greater. He is the one who Laozi. Next we have Confucius and we have Mencius. The teachings were influenced the Chinese life, especially Laozi preached Taoism. Who is the founder of Taoism? It is Laozi. Confucius' teachings were called Confucianism. We will see later. Mencius was a great philosopher influenced by Confucius' teaching. These philosophers' teachings were greatly influenced the Chinese civilization to a larger extent. So if you see, Laozi and Confucius and Mencius were the greatest Chinese philosophers. There is a 2 marks question. Mention the 3 important philosophers of China. That is Laozi, Confucius, Mencius were the great philosophers of China. There were many also, but some of them we are mentioning. Laozi is a philosopher, great philosophers of China. He lived before Confucius in 600 BC. He worked as a curator in the royal library. He worked for Zhou rulers. He was disgusted with the corrupt political system. He left the Chinese administration work and went to a remote part of China. There he wrote a book called Ta Te Ching. Ta Te Ching, which means the way of life. So thus his philosophy is known as Taoism. He started Taoism. Tao preached non-violence, not to be conservative. Society should respect wise persons, duty with sincerity, honesty, and so on. So he said, some of the important quotations of him were, Violence defeats its own end. Means violence brings violence and it ends in violence. Wisdom can never be transmitted by words. So, the wisdom never goes to another person only with words. It is action of another person will bring wisdom. So, words cannot transmit wisdom. One should be good to the good and good also to be evil. That is the Taoism says, or Tao says. Things in the nature works in silence. Things in the nature works in silence. You see, the trees grows in silence. The nature, sunlight comes very silently. It never shouts. If you do not quarrel, no one can quarrel with you. If you never get angry, no one can get angry with you. That's the quotation. So, if you are not quarreling, that no one on this earth can quarrel with you. That's greatest philosophy of Taoism. Just some of them. Next one is Mencius. This is the person who is the founder of Taoism. Next one is Mencius. Mencius is a philosopher who was influenced much by Confucius, the great teacher of China. He lived between 372 BC to 289 BC. His early name was Mengste. He was influenced by the teachings of Confucius. He taught that every person must have equal rights. Equal rights. According to him, all individuals are good. All the social evils comes from ignorance or illiteracy or poverty. So social evils are due to illiteracy, ignorance and poverty. And anyhow his teachings could not become very popular because they were similar to the teachings of Confucius. So that much famous Mencius could not become. So the last part, that is the famous Chinese philosopher, that is Confucius. Don't get Confucius. Don't get confusion. He's the greatest philosopher of China. He was born in a province called Lu, in a kingdom of Lu, in 571 BC. He lost his father at the age of he was 3. He had to face because of that many difficulties. His difficulties made him to get into different professions. First, he worked. He learned archery and became a musician and also learned music. And he got married at the age of 19, gave up family life at the age of 23, and worked in different capacities. As a language teacher, as an editor, as a judge, and as well as a minister. He proved to be great philosopher and teacher. Finally, his teachings and his philosophy is known as Confucianism. So, his principles are the basis for common Chinese tradition and belief. So, his teachings have influenced the families, worships, ancestors, everybody. So, the Chinese tradition has much things have borrowed from Confucianism or the philosophy of Confucian. So what are the teachings of Confucius? So you may be interesting to know this person. This is a man who is a Confucius. His teachings are great. So he taught a loyalty towards family, worship, ancestors, so worship of ancestors, respect toward elders, unity among the people, all are the basis for the Chinese society, especially if you take the main teachings of Chinese or Confucius. What you do not like when done to yourself, do not do to the others. It is considered as a golden rule of Confucius. What does that mean? What you do not like when done to yourself, do not do to others. What you do not like from others, don't do to others also. That is very simple principle. What you do not like from others, don't do to others. The other way you can say, what you like from others, you do to others also. Very easy. So therefore, which is the foundation of the society? The character is the foundation of the society. Without character, there is no society. A characterful person will bring good society. So therefore, basis of the every society is the character. So where does the wisdom begins? It begins at home. The mother is the beginning teacher of knowledge as well as wisdom. The great man will not speak first, but he acts. The great man first acts before he speaks, and he speaks according to his acts. So his actions and speaking will be the one and the same. So the society must respect or rest on the obedience of the children to their parents, wife to her husband, and students to their teachers. This is three obedience ladder. Children should obedient to their parents, and the wife should be obedient to her husband, and students to their teachers. Excessive taxation or barbaric punishments should be abolished by the government. So government should not do a barbaric punishment. He wanted states should provide employment to the people who have no job. He said the government should provide employment. He wished that unemployment should be provided with jobs. Government must also protect the people who have nobody to care, especially the orphans, the aged people, old age people, the widows, those people whose husband have already passed away, the deceased, those who are suffering from sickness, and the people, those who are got amputated or disabled. All these people must be protected or treated by the government very well. He also said, to see what is right and to do what is right, you should have courage. So, to see what is right and to do what is right, people should have courage. So, these are the golden principles or the teachings of Confucius. This is a 5 marks question that comes to you. So, a 10 marks question, that is, explain the contributions of Chinese to the world, or explain the contributions of Chinese civilization. These are the 10 marks question that you can encounter in your PU board. So this video ends now.